We're going to wrap up this great paper by Steven Salzberg now. I was just looking at the references in this paper published in 1997, and I have to say it's amazing to me how much it's the case that like 25 years later now, and recording this in 2022, we are sort of rediscovering once again that we have all of these methodological problems that people writing about actually as early as the 1980s, I think, in the machine learning, artificial intelligence, and so on literature. Okay, with that said, let us see how Salzberg wraps this up. Conclusion. As some researchers have recently observed, no single classification algorithm is the best for all problems. The same observation can be made for data mining. No single technique is likely to work best on all databases. Recent theoretical work has shown that with certain assumptions, no classifier is always better than another one. So just to tweak this a little bit for the natural language processing people like me, sentence by sentence, as some researchers have recently observed, no single classification algorithm is the best for all problems. What does this mean? Well, one thing that it means is when you're writing your papers, we should not be saying things like, we have found the best classification algorithm. It's not going to be the best for everything. The same observation can be made for data mining. No single technique is likely to work best on all databases. So for us language processing people, let's remember that when Salzberg talks about databases, we should replace that with sets of benchmark data for natural language processing tasks. Recent theoretical work has shown that with certain assumptions, no classifier is always better than another one. I think this is called a no free lunch theorem or something. I don't know. However, experimental science is concerned with data that occurs in the real world, and it is not clear that these theoretical limitations are relevant. So why is Salzberg telling us that? I think because he really does not want, in the end, to discourage doing comparative studies of classification algorithms, clearly. And also, remember, he is not coming out against using shared data sets. What he's advocating is some caution in how we use them, how we do significance testing for our performance on them, and how we interpret our results. Okay. So what does he say about comparative studies? Comparative studies typically include at least one new algorithm and several known methods. These studies must be very careful about their methods and their claims. What does he mean by methods here? He means, how do you set up your experiments? Do you do multiple testing comparisons? Do you use the right statistics and so on? The point of this paper is not to discourage empirical comparisons. Clearly, comparisons and benchmarks are an important central component of experimental computer science and can be very powerful if done correctly. Rather, this paper's goal is to help experimental researchers steer clear of problems in designing a comparative study. So this is followed by an acknowledgement section. It's followed by some footnotes that I did not read, and it's followed by some references. And I want to mention a couple of those that look good, some of which I've read, some of which I haven't. One of them, the first one here, generalizing from case studies, a case study by AHA. Bear in mind that Salzberg talks in here about the problems of overgeneralizing from our results. Presumably that's what this paper will get into. Another by Cohen and Jensen, overfitting explained. It's amazing to me how often I think we fail to understand how we can test for overfitting and lack thereof, and I'm as guilty of that as anyone. There's a paper by Holt from 1993, I think is really worth looking at, called Very Simple Classification Rules Perform Well on Most Commonly Used Data Sets. It's not even rules that he's looking at. One of his points is that a single feature actually can be a good baseline. And one of the things he suggests doing in that paper is that for every single feature you have, you should calculate your performance results with that. And Indy, you might be shocked about how few features you can get away with. I think it's pretty stunning. Let's see, by Kibler and Langley, machine learning as an experimental science. I've got that right in the middle of the screen here. That looks pretty good. And by Pritchett, a quantitative study of experimental evaluations of neural network algorithms, current rate research practice. And like I said, it's just amazing to me that people, decades ago were telling us about these experimental methodology problems and mistakes that we continue to make today. Okay, that is where I will leave it for this paper. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you would like more content like this, look on my channel. You'll find things for your practicing English language comprehension, for how to review a paper about natural language processing or machine learning, and a bunch of stuff about French. All right, have a great one. Thanks again.